What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 10 of the shop build. In the last episode, we finished up all the electrical inside. We've opened up completely between the two shops. Still waiting on the fire door to come in, but a lot of stuff's been happening on the outside. Let me flip around and show you what we've done and what we have coming up next. So today they took off the other piece of plywood, and hopefully the door will be coming soon, but now you can see the flow into the new shop. Big opening here, allow us to freely flow between the two shops. You can see now we've got this long corridor where we can pass things through. We can have this as a finished pieces area, and just really stoked to see how much more area it is and a lot better flow here into the new shop. And as we talked about, electrical is now done, waiting for insulation, HVAC, plumbing, and other little things here for the inside. So if you've been following along with my stories in my feed, you recognize this from a few weeks ago. This is the Concorde Aerospace switch plate that's inspired by, or replica of, the Apollo program command module switches. I'm a huge space nerd, especially early manned space flight, Mercury, Gemini, Apollo missions. This is a throwback to the Apollo 12 story where they had to switch SCE to aux to keep Saturn V on track to head to the moon after it was struck by lightning on the launch pad. But these are really cool. They have both three-way and single pole switches. This fun little switch cover here, and these just really satisfying to use, super fun. And we're gonna be using two of these in the shop for the switches in there. Contractor started working on the siding and the trim for the outside. We went with cedar, 9-inch overlaid siding. We decided not to go with the cedar shake that's on our original house because it's super expensive, because it comes with random widths and it's a lot of labor to cut them and fit them individually as individual shingles. So this is the siding that we went with. Again, cedar, 9-inch, kind of rough sawn and pre-primed. It's going to be painted the same color as the home. Other stuff that's been happening out here as well today has been blocking for our sconces. That's where our sconces will go. Obviously those will be painted. They've made it up just about to the trim level. They've done a nice little kind of beaded trim around the door and some weather stripping, really framing this door nicely. And I think it's just gonna look absolutely killer when we get to painting. A few other things that have happened on the outside. The electrician has installed and activated our outdoor receptacles. One here, and then there's another two on this side of the property as well. Little bubble switch here, and then that one down. So that's where we're at today. I was in the shop working on furniture, and obviously electricians were jamming out their last day here, but contractors Josh and Larson were absolutely killing it outside here, getting a lot of this siding done and really starting to get a shape of how things are going to look. What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. It has been certainly over the weekend, but at least I think a couple days last week since our last update on this video. Siding is nearly all the way done, and soffits are starting to go in, as well as a couple of little electrical things that I'll show you in a second. And that's going to cap it off, I think, for this video. So let me show you what we've been doing mostly end of last week and today, and where we're at in terms of progress. So the main focus into last week and today has been the siding. So on the back side is where they focused a lot of work today, putting insulation and siding up. And then they've started doing the sheathing here for underneath the soffits on this side, and started completing some of the soffit vents on the other side. On this side, we're doing sheathing and paint because due to code with it being close to the property line, you don't put venting on this side. The venting is actually on the roof, and it's a smart vent, so it pulls the air up and out rather than down into the property line. Over here also have installed our fused disconnect for the HVAC, which will go right here. You can see they've kind of a little line right there is kind of where it's going to go. This is a 240 volt circuit, so they'll run from here, get a little pigtail to the machine. It'll be fused in there, and then they'll run the piping basically from the back, kind of where the siding is right there, down and then over to actually run the HVAC. On the back side, this is more or less complete. Once it's obviously painted, they'll have these outlets they'll mask off and obviously do sealant around there. And yeah, continuing here on the side. So on this, we're doing smart vent on the back side, soffit venting here. And what's interesting about these is that rather than having solid soffits you have to cut in, they are pre-perforated, as you can see, for airflow on the soffit. Now, why do we go with that? This material is a little bit more expensive material-wise, but in actuality, it saves you money because it is very, very quick to install. There's no cutting, there's no cutting out holes, there's no installing vents. You don't have the material for the vents, so it's a little bit quicker and easier for them to cut these, basically rip them down on a table saw and install them, and then they're done with soffit venting rather than having to cut individual vents and cut the holes for those vents and then install those vents. So in the shop, obviously this is separated, it's on my property, it's connected, pseudo connected to the house through way of the old shop. But within a wood shop, you obviously have lots of fuel for a fire and fire, and there's lots of electrical in here, knock on wood. That's one of the things we worry about in a wood shop, is just having flammable materials. That's why we got a flammable cabinet, but also just wood dust, shavings, and that kind of stuff are naturally flammable from friction or any kind of heat source. Wanted to have some kind of smoke detector. However, if you've had a smoke detector in your shop, you recognize that those can have nuisance alarms where they go off just due to sawdust in the air. And what we're gonna do is a couple ways to try and solve that. First is I got a series of smoke detectors that are rated for kind of near kitchen and bath, so they tend to have a little bit better tolerance. It's actually, I have a battery powered kitchen and bath one in there that doesn't set off nuisance alarms. The other thing we're doing in here, certainly it's a large volume of space, so it would take quite a bit of constant dust to create a concentration in the air that could set it off. And we hope that with air filters, the dust collection, the greater volume, we won't have really any nuisance alarms that set that smoke alarm off. Why we're having them wired, certainly we're gonna hardwire them in, which is to code, but also we're having a matching one wired into the house so that in the off chance, and hopefully again, there isn't a fire out here, but if there is, smoke alarm, fire alarm, heat alarm will go off out here, and its pair inside the house will go off. That way we can hear it rather than relying on a battery powered one that'd be muffled by the sound insulation. So that's gonna be it for this video with electrical near completion, everything ready for the HVAC guy, siding near completion, and we're getting ready to start the insulation process and really close up this space. And finally, getting our last piece of door into this shop. So thanks so much for following along. Thanks for all the support as always, and we'll catch you in the next video here in the shop.